They believed the order was clear. The attack would begin at dawn. Thousands of men would advance, and very few would return. But one detail was overlooked, a tiny mistake, almost invisible. And that mistake changed everything. Spring 1943. Occupied Europe. The war had entered its most brutal phase. Cities burned, artillery thundered day and night. Entire regions were reduced to maps covered in lines, arrows, and numbers. From headquarters, decisions were made with cold precision. On the front line, those decisions were paid for in blood. That week, the Allies were preparing a decisive assault against a heavily fortified enemy position. The objective was simple: break the defensive line and open the way for a major offensive. On paper, the plan was flawless. In reality, it was a massacre waiting to happen. Enemy defenses included heavy artillery, perfectly positioned machine guns, and wide-open fields with no cover. Any frontal advance would be detected within seconds. Still, the order stood. The attack was scheduled for dawn. Among the officers responsible for execution was a young communications commander. He didn't lead assault troops. He didn't command tanks. His role was simple: transmit orders, not question them. But that night, something felt wrong. As he reviewed incoming messages, small inconsistencies began to appear. Repeated coordinates. Timelines that didn't align. A coded phrase used differently in two separate orders. Nothing obvious. Nothing dramatic. But everything felt off. Most officers would have ignored it. The plan came from above. Time was running out. Instead, he read everything again. That's when he saw it. One of the primary transmission orders, the one authorizing the initial advance, had been encoded using an outdated protocol, a system that was no longer supposed to be in use. That meant one terrifying possibility. If the message had been intercepted, the enemy would understand the entire plan. The attack wouldn't be a surprise. It would be a trap. The officer understood the weight of what he'd found. If he was wrong, he would delay a critical operation. If he was right, he could save thousands of lives. He had minutes to decide. Follow protocol, or quietly disobey. He chose the risk. Without announcing anything, he delayed the transmission, reported a technical fault, rewrote the code, adjusted frequencies, bought time. Minutes turned into hours. At headquarters, frustration grew. Reports failed to arrive. Confirmations were missing. The assault had to be temporarily suspended. And then, confirmation came in. Enemy intercepts revealed the truth. They were already positioned, waiting. Artillery calibrated. Machine guns aimed. If the attack had launched on schedule, it would have been devastating. The plan was canceled. Days later, a new strategy was executed from a different flank. This time with total surprise. It succeeded. Thousands of soldiers never knew how close they had come to dying that morning. If real stories like this deserve to be remembered, leave a like now. It helps keep these hidden moments of history alive. The officer's name never appeared in headlines. He received no famous medals, no photographs in newspapers. His report remained buried in military archives for decades. But his mistake, that deliberate delay, saved an entire generation of men who would never know his name. After the war, he returned home. He left the military, lived a quiet life. He never spoke publicly about what happened. Years later, when asked about it privately, he replied with a single sentence: "I did what I believed had to be done." This is not a story about traditional heroism. There are no explosions, no dramatic charges. It's a story about silent courage, about taking responsibility when no one is watching, about understanding that sometimes the bravest act in war is delaying an order. World War II was won through massive battles, but it was also shaped by small, invisible decisions. Decisions made in dark rooms, in moments of doubt, by people history almost forgot. This is one of those stories. If you want more real World War II stories, stories that sound like fiction but actually happened, subscribe to the channel. Because not every battle is won on the battlefield. Some are won in silence.